My hat! So the question to answer is, does a rear sway bar really make a difference on a no-prep drag car? So here's the car without a sway bar. It kind of skids a little, kind of squirrely. Unfortunately, the GoPro can't really pick up the car at a distance, and I have no way of zooming in. But just in the initial run, if I repeat the run at about a quarter of the speed, so this is the same run, just in slow motion, when it takes off, it wants to sway to the side. So that makes the vehicle less controllable. So here is the car taking off, so you can see how it kind of turns. Then I have to try to control it as I'm going. Now I have the throttle all the way from the start. So that's one of the differences. And this was my best run without a sway bar. And I am going to show the data, but just on the GPS it was 4.1. So these are two of my runs. They're very consistent, so even though they're two of my best runs, they're all so consistent. I was just cherry picking. But I did replace the battery, so it was a freshly charged battery running with the sway bar. Same type of battery, same milliamp hours, everything. So here's the second run. And it does a little, but then it just straightens out and goes. So it's the initial start, you're still going to spin the tires. Keep in mind this car is fully stock, it's just a sway bar. So stock shocks, springs, oil, setup, everything. But here we go. So we have with sway bar, these are all the numbers. If you look at the times, very, very close, very consistent. This was my best run without the sway bars. So if we look at the time and the speed, you can check this out. The G was 1.2 versus 0.92 versus 1.13. If you look at the data table, there's something important, even though it was a 1.2 right here. But notice it quickly dropped. The G's did. But if you go across, you'll see the difference between them. But here we go. See 0.39. The acceleration quickly dropped on that first run, possibly because of the lack of sway bar. So one of the tires was probably lifting up and not accelerating, versus this one was the most consistent. So if you look at the acceleration, it's more consistent with the sway bar. Even though the G's, so if you look at those G's, compare those two numbers, these two, see how it kind of kept the same acceleration force versus the first one? More than likely the tires were planted, and if you look at the speed, see all the 41s versus the very first one, you see that it actually picks up speed and then loses speed. Here speed just keeps going up. So with the sway bar, the speed just keeps increasing on these both examples. On this other one, there's actually a decrease, see 41.5 versus over here it just stayed at 42. And this is something that I noticed across the board. There was just no reason to add a bunch of numbers that looked extremely similar. So does a rear sway bar make a difference? Yes, it does. It gives you more traction throughout the entire race, not necessarily just on the start. Well, I hope this was useful or at least entertaining. Please subscribe if you have not, and I'll catch you in the next one.
What? Oh, my hair! My tongue! My rod!